volume up on reminders or something to like really make it like blare at me so I pay attention. All right.
Yeah, it's really
Yay, Mr. Biggs and the Red Rock guys are here. That's exciting.
awesome.
Yay. I wasn't as good about promoting this one as some other ones because life. I really wish I had some
Absolutely.
better excuse, but we are going to record it and it will be there forever on the interwebs for people who need it. So
As long as this is the one that makes me world famous, I am good.
I love it. We're going to work on that. I'll put that in my
Perfect.
strategic plan. Make George world famous.
Yeah.
I did tell our founder about you today, and he was like, "Who's this
nice.
George guy?" And I was like, secretly, I'm trying to get him hired. She's like, he said, it's like it really does sound like that.
Well, I'll expect a phone call.
You're right. I'm going to start the recording, and you know what? We can just get started whenever you are ready. As soon as
Perfect. So super glad everybody's here. This kind of stuff, this specific topic, it's kind of crazy that the hardest thing I've ever been through in my whole entire life, some of my darkest moments, some of the worst experiences I've had are some of my favorite things to talk about now. Right? I was able to move through addiction and criminal behavior and criminal thinking and lack of self-esteem into a place where I'm happy and healthy and in recovery, my definition of recovery. And it's super amazing to be here. So I'm really glad everybody that's here is here. We get to have this group together and talk a little bit about what recovery looks like and what it might look like for you recovery, personally, because this path and this journey is so unique. So my name's George Nolan. I'm the chief disruptor over at Refine to Inspire. It's a company I own where I do personal development and soft skills to help people who just want to get better, not necessarily a recovery mindset, but most of us want to get better. And I try to add value to that. I partnered with Persevere, an unbelievably awesome nonprofit that works with our people that are currently incarcerated and teaches them a highly sought after skill, software development. And it's a really good combination to be able to work together. My day job is working for New Freedom. We're a 90-day IOP, and we help men and women that return from prison back into the communities and help them kind of have a firm foundation and be able to move forward with their lives. So my whole entire day and nights and mornings is completely enveloped in this space, in reentry, in recovery, in personal development. And I'm really glad everybody's here today. So I kind of introduced myself. I told you guys about Refine to Inspire and Persevere. Callie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Callie Unruh. I am program manager for Arizona here at Persevere, and excited to partner with George to help create some resources and tools to help our folks out, and even just, educate the community at large about this population and the struggles and challenges, and create a better world for us all.
Awesome. Thank you. So, Mr. Biggs, is there any way I can ask one of your guys to tell me their definition of recovery? Is that possible? Or Nufo, whoever?
My definition of recovery. Wow.
It's a tough one, right?
Not doing the stuff that I did that got me here.
Awesome.
On a day-to-day basis, it's a ever-present challenge, but I'm getting there slowly but surely.
Absolutely, man. It's about the process, right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was actually just talking to a therapist at lunch because of where I work. I wasn't actually at my therapist, even though I should probably be there more often. I was talking to a therapist at lunch, and working as a peer, where I came from, where I was incarcerated, I was pretty good at my job. And I can safely say I'm a pretty nice guy. But a lot of that, unfortunately for me at this stage, has to be intentional. Like, my go-to is not niceness and kindness. My go-to is not to help someone. It's just to turn off and not really care. So I have to be intentional as I move forward, and where I get to work at and the people I get to work around, even the people that persevere too, Callie as well, or Onufo, Biggs, like there's just some genuinely nice people in this world that can help us along that path, right? They have behaviors that I want to have. So as you move forward, you said you're a little bit early on in the process, it's a struggle every day. You keep surrounding yourself with those kind of people, and you start to be able to live like they live, not necessarily the same decisions, but you can see how they handle stuff, right? We can absorb some of their coping skills, see how they move through stuff. And that's been extremely valuable for me. What about you, Mr. G? You got anybody over there that wants to tell me their definition of recovery? Hey, thank you, man.
Not sure actually if Mr. G is on here. I thought maybe he was, but you might.
Okay, I seen 4. I figured he was on the bottom. Okay, so when I talk about recovery, I'm talking about the process of change, right, through which we're able to improve our health and our wellness, live self-directed lives, where we strive to actually reach our full potential. Right, a long time ago, I got real tired of people telling me how much potential I had, because potential doesn't really get you anywhere. And there's no way to really quantify potential, right? It's just something that we might be able to do. So in order for us to grow into that, we have to have some kind of a plan. In order to have that plan, we have to come over the challenges such as addiction, mental health issues, especially trauma, a lot of us. And it's characterized by ongoing personal growth and healing. Recovery, it's not just about abstaining from harmful behaviors either, right? Not doing drugs or not committing crime. That's a good place to start. Early on in my recovery, I figured my life would be amazing because I stopped doing drugs. Well, my life actually got a little bit more difficult because now I did not have my number one coping skill. I took everything I knew how to handle stuff and removed that from the equation. Now I had to face things head on. So I had to be open. I had to learn. As we talk about this, it's also about developing a positive and fulfilling lifestyle. It's extremely important. That promotes physical, emotional, and social well-being. When I talk to guys that are coming to New Freedom and they tell me, I just want to get out of there and get a job. Okay, well, what do you want to do? And a lot of us can't even answer that at this stage of the game, which is okay. But in early recovery, solid decision-making is extremely important. So just getting a job and throwing yourself into a situation where you're maybe not around the right people, or you're doing something you hate, you already have stressors from the change in lifestyle, it's extremely important for us to be aware of what it is we want to do, what's something we're willing to do for 8 hours a day. Even if it's a decent paycheck, it doesn't mean it's going to make us happy. So searching out those careers and those jobs that we're able to find that fulfillment in, right, and be able to do some stuff that we love is extremely, extremely important. So as we move on, I talked about the mindset. Mindset's extremely important. We get to decide. Henry Ford, I believe it is. I'm not really a big quote guy, but he's got a saying or a quote that says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And it's really that simple. The quote I used on here was from Saquon Barkley. I'm a Giants fan, so I threw it in there. Nothing is given to you. Everything is earned. You have to have the mindset that you have to work hard every single day, learn every single day. So the analogy I like to use here is I've watched men, including myself, go work in the kitchen for 8 hours a day on a prison yard. And I would earn 45 cents, maybe get an extra hamburger at the end of the day, or whatever that looks like, get the little kitchen hustle going. But I wouldn't spend 1 minute a day working on myself. I wouldn't spend 1 minute a day getting better. If a really good question to ask ourselves in extremely early recovery is, what am I doing today to get better? Something I talk to about guys on the yards a lot is I like to ask, who's got discipline? And most of us raise our hands and say, okay, where's that discipline at? Where can I see that? And everyone says working out. Well, guess what? If you're doing what you love every day, that's not really discipline. Yeah, it looks like discipline because you're out there every day and it's great and it's healthy and it's an awesome part of your life, but it's the stuff that we don't necessarily want to do. whether that's reading, whether it's coding, whether it's meditating, whether it's making that phone call to our mom who's still got some gripes with us, whatever that looks like for us, doing the stuff that we don't necessarily want to do as often as we can, it's an extremely important place to start. Right? Especially, I encourage you guys that are still incarcerated, you have an unbelievable opportunity to build that discipline. What would your life look like if you spent an hour a day just working on you? I know you guys, a lot of us do our coding, a lot of us do our working out, a lot of us do that. What else could you add to that? You know, whether it's reading a book, whether it's journaling, whatever it is, start adding that habit. When we talk about bringing the habits in, I'm not talking about journaling 10 pages a day. Set a really, really small goal early on to write one sentence in a journal entry. Because once you start doing something, you're already going to continue to do it. Kind of like drug use. Once you start doing drugs, you continue to do drugs. If you take that hour a day or that moment out of the day to be intentional, go do your one sentence in that journal, you're probably going to write 2 or 3 sentences. Right? Over time, you're going to feel that you're getting your stuff out. You're able to express yourself, maybe able to see things a little bit clearer. Those journal entries will increase. Now you are building discipline because you started off doing something you didn't want to do, and now you've actually formed it into a habit that's beneficial for you, that's pro-social, that's helping you move forward in whatever direction you're on. One of the coolest things I got to do when I got out of prison, I think I was just telling Kelly about this the other day, was go back and pull those journals out to show somebody how I had set my intentions in prison for certain goals. I'm like, yeah, I wrote it down every day for a year, and I sat there and flipped through my book and was able to show them, date and time and all that stuff. It was pretty cool. So I'm not saying journaling's for everybody in here, but figure out something and you're not doing that you could be doing and try to add that to your arsenal, especially early on in this process. Mindset is what it comes down to. So when we deal with people in addiction, right? When we deal with any kind of behavior change for a human being, whether it's quitting smoking, whether it's going to the gym, it doesn't have to be just with substance use, just with alcohol. The example I'm going to use today with the stages of change, I am going to use alcohol, but think about the big changes you've made in your life and try to identify what stage you were in for each one of those. And if you have some behaviors in your life right now, try to identify what stage you're in right now based on what I'm about to teach you guys. In the very beginning of this, we have pre-contemplation. So the person isn't thinking about reducing alcohol use. So let's think typical frat boy type stuff, playing beer pong every weekend, drinking every night, maybe a little bit hungover during, going to work, but still living an okay life, still functioning, haven't had any real consequences yet. And he's on his way home, 4:00 in the morning, and he gets that DUI. All right, that clock was ticking. It was running on that. He gets the DUI. That might motivate him or give him the impetus, which is going to push him into the next stage, which is pre-contemplation. And pre-contemplation, this is when we begin questioning our drinking habits, noticing some health issues or, like I talked about before, social consequences. Like, hey, I know I have been drinking a lot. Now I can't drive for 3 months or whatever the DUI laws are. I'm going to have to pay a whole bunch of money. Maybe there's something I should do about this, right? It gives us a chance to start thinking. When we get into the next stage of change, which is preparation, this is when we start putting a plan together. We're not necessarily doing anything about it, but maybe, hey, I'm going to go sign up for a 12-step meeting, or I'm going to go to church more, or I'm going to exercise more, or I'm going to drink less, right? We start coming up with these different plans. And again, this is unique for everybody. Following the preparation stage, this is when we start to take action, right? We're showing up at those meetings. We've stopped drinking. We're practicing different sober living strategies, whatever that is. I know people that just stopped going to the bar and they were able to stop drinking. And I know other people that I literally know a therapist that's been sober for 9 years and still goes to 5 meetings a week. To me, I'm like, wow, that seems like so much, but that's her normal. And if she has to miss a meeting because of work, she's in her car or in her office doing a virtual meeting on the phone or the tablet. That's her commitment to that. She's still taking action. She's still in that stage. And I asked her about it. And I said, why are you so intense about that this far in? It kind of looks like you've moved through it. She said, because she can never be comfortable enough to be into the next stage, which is maintenance, because she's been there before and she's fallen back. So her knowing herself, knowing she's just going to stay in the action stage. So in the maintenance stage, that behavior's completely stopped, right? We remain sober. We work to avoid situations, kind of like I talked about before, going to the bar, and things that might tempt us to drink. Like for me, I can't have anybody in my social life, right? Whether I'm dating somebody or a friend or anything like that, that's a drinker. Like if they have an occasional drink here and there, that's not a big deal. But I can't be with someone who's going to be bringing alcohol to my house and drinking, heavily on the weekends. And I don't even want to drink. I don't have any desire to drink. But I bet if I'm around it enough, I know that dopamine mind I have might start thinking a little bit differently. So I minimize all that. I don't even want to put myself in that situation. And then these last two are pretty interesting. And when I talk about uniqueness, I mean uniqueness, because these are the stages of change. Some people believe that relapse and termination or termination are part of the stages of change, and some people don't. What matters is what you believe. If you believe termination, you're done with this, you've moved on, and it's over, is a part of your stages of change, I believe you. Some people argue about relapse being in the stages of change because they say it kind of leaves the door open and it's okay to make a mistake. The way I see it is, whatever you think is correct here is correct. If relapse is a part of your recovery story and your recovery journey, that's great. If you don't feel like relapse is a part of your story, or if you don't feel like relapse should be a part of stages of change, that's fine too. Nobody has to be right here. We just have to know what's best for us. The one thing I can guarantee you, there's nobody else in this world that knows you as good as you do. No one knows me as good as me, fortunately for them, right? So what we know, what we think is what, in the long run, what's going to be the healthiest for us as people. I can't stress enough the power of support. I talked to you guys and ladies and everybody that's in here a little bit earlier about my group of friends and the people that I have around me, whether or not they drink or use drugs or whatever. And you show me the 5 people you hang out with, and I'll show you your future. Not some of the time, not 80% of the time, 100% of the time. We are who we hang out with. That's just, it's just a fact. It's just what we do as humans. We got a tribe mentality. Human connection is extremely important. Whoever we're connecting to is extremely important. When I first was on, I had gotten to Graham Unit out in Safford. I was newly sober, under a year or so, and they came out with the recovery support specialist credential on the wall. And I remember it said an Arizona State certified recovery support specialist. That was literally the only reason I got involved, was because there was some kind of credential there. And I didn't even have a driver's license. I had nothing that was official except a DOC number. I wanted that state credential. I wish I had like a heartfelt, warming story where I got into this business to help people and, my heart was pure of intentions and all that. It wasn't. I got into this business because I wanted a state credential. I wanted something official, maybe something I could tell my mom about or my son. But what I realized during that training, when they gave me my certificate for 68 hours worth of training, the very first conversation I had with somebody that was on purpose, that was meaningful, I literally knew in that moment I was 100% in my purpose. 100%. And having those conversations and seeing how devoid the prison yards are, and I got news for you guys that are still incarcerated, the outside population, the conversations are just as meaningless and just as devoid. Like, we have to be intentional about our conversations and figure out people that want to have meaningful conversations and be able to show kindness. And that was something I started learning in prison. But then I went to Chow. And the conversations are just as meaningless and just as devoid. And what I'm used to, we have to be intentional about our conversations, is crime. The same lick that I hit on over and over and over, or women or rims or cars or whatever. And I'm telling one of these stories at the table. It was like a funny story or something, I remember. But everybody left. And my partner was sitting there, and after everybody left, he's like, "Hey man, didn't you just get that peer support training?" I was like, "Yeah." how's it going? I said, good. Because you think you're going to have any credibility if you're doing the stuff you're doing in those classrooms and then talking about this trash in here? I didn't really want to hear that at the time, but it was also a blind spot that I absolutely did not see coming. And it was like literally the first time I was checked, like as far as, pro-social stuff and help me get better. And I had to take it with a grain of salt because sometimes, especially for me, feedbacks can be kind of hard to take. And so I went through it. He had waited for everybody to leave. Like he did it in as healthy a way as possible, especially since we're good friends. We're still good friends to this day. And that was my first lesson in who the people I have around me are that are why it's so important. And like I said earlier about coming here to work at New Freedom and just seeing these people around here that are just like so genuinely nice, and working with Callie all the time. And Miss Gillum, I've seen a lot. I've interacted with a lot. And just the genuine kindness that people have, like that's who I want to be with, or that's what I want to be like. So those are the people I need to be with. So I need to learn how to make that my go-to. If you have people in your life, they're doing one of two things. They're either adding or they're taking. That's it. They're either adding value or they're taking away from you. And obviously, sometimes we're going to need each other, right? I'm going to need some stuff from you. You're going to need some stuff from me. So it's okay. But when it's constantly taking, when every time my phone rings, you have some kind of dire emergency, there's something going on with your life, we can either address it and start moving forward, or I'm going to have to cut ties. And those are tough conversations. Those are extremely tough conversations to have. But the second we don't put ourselves first in this space, the second we stop putting ourselves first, we know what that looks like. And I'm done going back to prison. I have to put myself first. And I'm not talking about my selfish needs, which I have plenty, but I'm just talking about my spiritual wellness, right? I'm not talking faith-based or religion. I'm just talking George as a human being. If something's off, I need to figure out what that is. And if there's a person involved that's making me feel that way, or bringing that energy into my life where it's affecting me, then I'm going to have a conversation, or just no more conversations, one or the other. Protect ourselves, put ourselves first, do what makes us happy. It is so important having the right people. And the cool thing is, I can tell you unequivocally that there's a whole bunch of us out here that practice empathy, that practice kindness, that will answer the phone whenever you call, that will have your back, that will walk with you. Maybe not help you move because that's kind of a pain in the butt, but outside of that, emotional and mentorship kind of support. There's so much. A friend of mine, my mentor, who I just met a few weeks ago, and I asked him to be my mentor. He got out of prison 10 years ago. He had no teeth and was making $11 an hour. Now he's got a house on Arrowhead Lake. He works at a recovery center up in Tucson that charges $83,000 for 35 days. He's got a wife, a family, and probably one of the most beautiful smiles I've ever seen. As soon as I seen how he was living happily, like, 'cause I don't care about the money or the big house and the fence and the car. But as soon as I seen how he was living spiritually, how happy he was, how kind he was, and it literally started from him saying very nice things to me on LinkedIn. And I'm like, wow, this guy's really supportive. And then I met him at a behavioral health conference. And as soon as we had a conversation, I was like, please be my mentor. And he's been mentoring me ever since. So now I got another tool on my tool belt. Somebody who else is adding value to my life, who's showing me the way, who's got my back. There's so much support out here for us. I know and when I talk about resources, guys, there's resources for days. I mean, ridiculous resources. But that emotional, that peer support, which is literally probably the most invaluable thing that we're going to need along this recovery journey. People who understand where we come from, can walk with us and help us move forward. I like to talk a lot, obviously. That's why I do stuff like this. But I promise you this, I don't have any answers for you. I don't. I do not have any answers for you, but I am willing to have a conversation. I'm just one of many that's willing to have a conversation to help you decide what's best for you. There's so many people out here, and we've heard it before, who want to tell you, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this. I had a guy ask me when I did the Whetstone class, tell me why I should go to New Freedom. I don't know. I don't know why you should go to New Freedom. You tell me why you should go, right? Like, I'm not going to make decisions for anybody. Nobody should be making decisions for you anymore as you move forward in your recovery. There's very small percent. I think it's like the average person out here on this side of the fence makes like 45,000 decisions a day. And don't quote me on this because I'm screwing up the numbers. And the average incarcerated individual, I believe, makes 2,400 decisions a day. We have to get used to making decisions again, right? We get into that habit, some of us, and I didn't even know it. I remember sitting at a computer using Google, and I asked the guy next to me some question. I can't remember what it was. And he's like, bro, you got Google right there. I'm like, dang, like that learned helplessness is real. We're so used to asking for stuff, it becomes almost a habit. So I highly encourage, have the right people that are going to challenge you, that are going to support you. But at the end of the day, they're going to encourage you to make your own decisions. They'll talk through them with you, but that decision, I'm 100% responsible for everything that happens in my life. So I should be making every single decision that applies to my life. Resilience.
Real quick,
Go
I'm
ahead.
just going to pipe in Andrew on Facebook. He made a comment that I think you probably agree with, that you need to also love yourself before you can love others. And that in terms
100%.
like that goes along with that.
Yep. And I'm going to give you a great example because recovery is kind of a shitty thing to talk about, right? Terrible things happen in there. And I talked to a guy a few weeks ago. He was at a facility and he was like, hey man, you got any housing options? I said, yeah. He goes, well, I need a 1-bedroom apartment for me and my girl. And he's locked down. He's on a parole violation. He's like, I need a 1-bedroom apartment for me and my girl. And do you know where the free ones are? And I'm like, oh, I don't know if there's any that are free. I know there's some stuff for veterans or whatever, but generally speaking, like realistically, what can I help you with? He's like, I don't know, man. It's just, I want to get my girl into this place. She's homeless with a kid, couch surfing right now. And I said, okay, well, if she's got a baby with her, I can definitely get her housed. Right. And he goes, well, can I live there when I get out? I said, I don't think so. I was like, I didn't even tell him I didn't know. I didn't tell him no because I'm still unsure. I never followed through on it. Here's why. Because in his addiction, in that mindset, he's like, nah, I'm good then. Don't even worry about it. So that selfishness, before you come to love yourself, he was willing to let his baby's mom stay homeless on the streets rather than get some help while he was still incarcerated on the off chance that he wasn't going to be able to live there. Now, that's a pretty ugly truth. And it just happened 2 weeks ago. And it was just a harsh reminder. Like I used to do stuff worse than that. I used to have a mindset that was worse than that. And it was just a very stark reminder of what that looks like. So before we rush off into relationships, right? Before we try to go home and just be the end all be all for everything, we have to love ourselves. We have to practice self-forgiveness. That's for me, one of the most invaluable tools that we have, is because only I know every single dark, disgusting thing that I did, right? Only I know that. There's stuff that I probably forgot about that pops in my head sometimes. But in order for me to be okay with that, sure, I could get on here and be like, hey guys, guess what? I forgive myself. Time to move on. But I know I'd be full of it. So in order for me to be okay with the wreckage of my past, I have to first utilize it, because I can either hide it or I can heal it. So I'm not going to hide it, right? I'm going to bring it out. I'm going to talk about it. I'm not going to glorify anything, but I'm going to use it to help people if it relates to their story and I'm able to disclose appropriately to help them avoid a similar path to me. In addition to that, in order for me to practice self-forgiveness, because it's not an event for me, it's a practice, I have to continue to do stuff like this. I have to continue to be the best version of me every single day, right? And my best isn't that great, but it's my best. That's all I got. And I continue to try to do it every single day just to make sense of the wreckage of the past. Like my victims could care less probably what I'm doing. I'm not going to speak for them, but I'm assuming most people, at the end of the day, this is up to me. And in order for me to to practice self-forgiveness, to be able to be truly happy and accept the love and gifts and gratitude that I get to see every day, with the work that I do, in order for me to be just plain and simple happy, I have to continue to be the best version of me all the time. And it's easy for me to get on here and talk some rah-rah stuff and be like, hey, life's great, this, that. But sometimes when I'm by myself, it's not that easy. I remember when I flew to New York and I got in the airport in New York, I'm like, I don't have any of my sober friends around. No one's going to know if I go to this bar and have a beer. I'm in New York, like alcoholic George is only in Arizona, or drug addict George is only in Arizona. For some reason, I transformed in New York. Not the case. And I had to talk myself out of it, because we talk about recovery being personal, right? I talked about it being unique. Well, then make it personal and unique. Practice recovery all the time, even in the dark when no one's watching. That's when it really, really counts. Getting on here, I could have a great conversation with you guys, talk some rah-rah stuff, and then to go out there and treat people terrible. Probably not going to be sustainable. It's probably not going to last that long. So making those integrity-based decisions while you're alone, while you're around people who maybe don't care, is super important, because that's the stuff that's going to bring the sustainability. That's the stuff that's going to keep us moving forward. The good news is, when we talk about resilience, every single person, I can only see a little circle on a thing with a bunch of guys in orange in it, which is awesome. Every single one of you guys in orange, out of the 7.8, whatever the number is, billion people on this planet, I guarantee you are in the top 2% as far as resilience goes. Normal people do not survive the stuff that we've survived. They don't survive it. Yet you guys have, and myself, we have the audacity to sit here in our lives, in our purpose, and want to be better. We don't want to just get by and get out and do whatever. We actually want to keep growing. After all the stuff we did, after all the stuff we've been through, the drug use, the needles, the overdoses, the violence, all that other stuff, and now, very early on, hey, I want to be better too. That takes a lot of nerve. The world don't have it. When we talk about, like, employers, I talk about second chance employers all the time. If you want to hire average, then go hire somebody without a criminal record, without a substance use background. You'll get the average guy. But you get someone who's in recovery, man, we're built different. We've been through the worst of the worst, had every single thing that we could bring into our life. We begged for all this misery. We survived through it. We walked through that swamp, and now we're out here. We might have a little gap in training. We might have a little gap, even like professionalism, how to dress at the office, stuff like that. But if you take a little bit of time to get us up to speed, once we're up to speed, we're going to smoke everybody. We're going to blow the doors off. Not one of my friends has an average job or an average life. Not one of them. And I hang out with some dudes that were at one point like me, terrible, terrible human beings. And they are absolutely destroying it. My friend is the director of outpatient services at a hospital now. He's been out 2 years making $92,000 a year. Like, he was shocked when he got the offer for the job. You know, my other friend has an HVAC company. He's killing the game. The stuff that we go through in our addictions, in our mindsets, in prison, in incarceration, in all that stuff. Man, if we have a bad day at work, big deal. Oh my God, my email's down, big deal. Like, those are such small obstacles to what we've already overcome, as long as we're able to continue to look at it that way and use those challenges to just blow through, right? Because we can't really go around them. We got to just figure out ways through them. They're all there for a reason, and they're nothing compared to what we've been through. That's that gift of resilience. That's what gives us that above average, way above average mindset when we choose to have it. It's extremely easy to have the victim mindset. Extremely easy. I went to a meeting at central office, had a meeting with with the director and the assistant director, and I walked out of that office, and you should have seen the way that people in there looked at me. They were not happy that I was there. The director was fine, the assistant director was fine, but the people that weren't part of that conversation, they were just, man, if looks could kill. And I just smiled, said, how you doing, and moved on. I could have gone home and complained about it and whatever else, and dwelled on it, or felt uncomfortable, or refused to go back. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Somebody wants to give me a dirty look. Well, I've been through a lot worse. Someone doesn't want to give me a job. I've been through a lot worse. There's so much stuff that we get to use with resilience, but we have to use the resilience. Don't forget where you've came from. Don't forget where you've been. Much stuff that we get to use with resilience. Super strong. It's literally a superpower. When you get out here and see what this world looks like, when I talk to you about average, it is average. I had a guy on my podcast the other day who told me he held the door open for two ladies, and they were so thankful that he held this door open for them. And he was like, man, is this what it's come to? Like, this is like a big deal that I held the door open for a couple of ladies. He's like, man, it is so easy to be today. It is so easy to be great in today's world. You just got to do a little bit more. Again, we get to use our histories. We get to use the biggest challenges we've had in our life to continue to push forward, to continue to move forward. And when you look at what I've been through, nothing's going to stop me from moving forward. Oh. Now, again, this is one of those things that I was kind of talking to Callie before. My time management, if I'm being completely honest and transparent with you, I don't have a big enough screen to show you how far apart my hands are right now, but I have a lot of room for growth. Self-care I'm pretty good at, but I still got some room for growth. We have to rest, right? We have to stay active. We got to squeeze some time in there for that. Practice mindfulness. Be in the moment. Be present. When I talk about being present, this is what I mean. If you ever get in a shower and turn it on ice cold, you're not going to think about anything else other than that cold shower that you're in. I guarantee you, unless you're built different. I'm not built that different. I will freeze in there. I will only think about that cold shower and I'm there, completely present. That's what I mean. There's little tricks. Like if you're brushing your teeth, when you brush your teeth with your right hand, you're used to it. Well, brush your teeth with your left hand. That's going to keep you grounded. It's going to keep you present. There's different little things that you can do that work for you. Meditation, for me, I am all over the place. I'm a scatterbrain. Was one of the hardest behaviors that I had to build. And I would literally, it was like the longest minute in the world. And I was all over the place just trying to sit still and be quiet for a minute. But I kept doing it. And I did it every day. And now I'm up to like 40 minutes. And now I actually enjoy it. I can decompress. I don't do it as much as I should. I'm not doing it every day anymore, but I need to make time for it. But I was able to build it from 1 minute to 40. A lot of us, we want, I know myself, I want it right now. I'm going to figure it out right now. I'm going to get it done right now. I want results right now. That's not the way it works. When I talk about practicing gratitude, which is huge, before I get out of bed, and this I do almost every morning, I list 10 things I'm grateful for before my feet hit the ground. Before I get out of bed, while my alarm clock's still going off, I list those 10 things. The first day I did that, I didn't have this miraculous feeling to like, oh, I'm so filled with gratitude. But after about a month or two of doing it, I noticed it was changing my mindset. It was rewiring my brain. It was giving me so many things and so many reasons to be thankful. I had a conversation this morning and I was joking around with a friend of mine. I blew my engine up a couple of weeks ago, right? My car's been at the Kia dealership, all this stuff, like I'm waiting on a warrant, all this stuff's going on. And I'm like, yeah, and I was kind of complaining about it. And my friend was like, well, how much worse would it be if you were riding a bus? I was just like, yeah, I got nothing to complain about. Because thankfully I'm able to have a rental car, right? Because it could be a lot worse. And I didn't see that blind spot. So one of my gratitude-loving friends was able to point that out to me and kind of help me reframe, refocus, and realize how much I do have to be grateful for. Eating healthy, that's going to be a personal choice. Whatever healthy looks like for you, whether it's lettuce, whether it's not sweets. There's health conditions that go along with some of us, right? We got to watch our sugars if we're involved with diabetes. All kinds of different things. Whatever is best for you that's going to keep you happy and healthy, eat that. There's so much junk food out here. It takes a toll, right? Just, substances aren't the only terrible thing we can put in our body. Food is as well. Boundary setting. This one's tough. Yeah. Just last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, I used to ride motorcycles, do all the stuff that comes with that. And I had two of my old friends from there hit me up on Facebook, because on Facebook, I accept everybody until people start saying crazy stuff, and then I block them. But I give doors open for everybody until I have to shut it. And they kept asking me to come hang out. I kept telling them, I legitimately changed my life, man. This is not who I am. Well, you can just come hang out. No, I can't. What if the cops show up over at your house? I don't even want to put myself in that position. And they asked again, and I had to block them. That's a boundary, right? If you don't set your boundaries, then guess what? Everybody else gets to set your boundaries, because your boundaries are going to be somewhere. So figure out what they are, set them, and maintain them. And they're not going to be comfortable. Not all. Some of them will be easy. If you have to be home by 9 o'clock, whatever that looks like for you, something like that would be easy. But when you can't talk to people anymore, people that like, these are my friends that I loved. These are guys I was friends with for 20 something years. These are guys who bailed me out of jail, but I can't talk to them anymore. They don't have my best interest in mind. Boundary setting is crucial. as we move into our recovery, our reentry, our personal development, not to just set them, because that's kind of the easy part, but to be able to enforce them in a healthy way, right? Because we know how to enforce them prison style, but that's not going to get us anywhere out here. We have to be able to have those uncomfortable conversations, move through them, and go home to our friends and family. Staying connected. I give my number out all the time to everybody. Every prison I walk into, I write it on a whiteboard. When they open the tablets up, I literally had to block my phone because I'm a volunteer. You can call my number as soon as you get out. I'll support you when you get out. Hardly anybody calls. A couple people here and there call. At parole orientation, we have 30 volunteers in there. They ask one question in the group. They ask about marijuana. They tell them yes or whatever they tell them. The group gets up and they leave at the end. Maybe 4 or 5 people out of that group stay and talk to the 30 people that are there to help. That's the opposite of staying connected. Stay plugged in. Make those phone calls. You guys are coming out of a great program with Persevere. I am 100% a highly valuable reentry coach. I can tell you that right now. I don't have a single resource for you outside of my knowledge. I can connect you with anything you need. Literally anything. Use me. I give my number for a reason. Call it. I've gotten a letter from one of you guys through a case manager. He's on a path. He's asking for help. He's looking to make some changes. Stay connected, right? Sometimes we want to connect with the old people, the people that don't necessarily have our best interest in mind, because they're easier. They're not going to challenge us. They're not going to judge us. They're not going to care how good we do. People like myself, the 2 ladies right here, the organization that I represent, any other organization I introduce you to is going to be 100% invested in your success. I don't just do this because it's a paycheck. I do this because I love to do it. I promise you, doing this kind of work, you can't do for a paycheck. It's not sustainable. This is an extremely taxing and I don't even know, like emotionally challenging space to operate in. And I love every single second of it. And I see people come and go all the time. They're like, oh, I want to help. I want to be a part of that. Oh, yeah, this isn't for me. And that's cool. I get it. I got a job. I worked there for 4 days. I said, hey, this isn't for me. And I got out of there. They say winners don't quit. I say winners don't do what they don't want to do. You don't like something, move on. Right? That's boundary setting. Hobbies, guys. Extremely important. We don't know what we do for fun. I know I didn't. The first time I got asked, hey, George, what do you do for fun? This was during my RSS credentialing. Leisure is a big deal for us, right? It's a huge factor in relapse a lot of times because our old lifestyles, without glorifying anything, at least were exciting and time consuming. We didn't really have time for fun activities, right? Outside of antisocial ones. As we move into a healthy lifestyle, a pro-social lifestyle, a lifestyle where we want to support our families, where we want to love ourselves, where we want to do good things, what do we do for fun? My answer was pickleball because I played it 2 days ago, 2 days before that on the yard. I literally had no idea what to say, so I said pickleball. And even now, in my transition to reentry, if I go try to have a leisure day, I have to ask the person that I'm going out with. Like now I got a couple of good things, but in the beginning, I was like, I don't know what to do for fun. I went to a Rattlers game and I was so uncomfortable in that crowd. But then a few months later, I went to Renaissance Fair and I was a lot more loose in the crowd because I know who I am now as a sober person at a public event. So we get to grow into these spaces. If you get out and you have that awkward moment like I had at the Rattlers game, it kind of feels like, oh my God, I'm never going to feel like I fit in anywhere ever again. That's literally how I felt that day. I was like, shouldn't be here because I'm not drinking. I don't know how to act and I'm uncomfortable. I did not see a path out of that. And I'm like a personal development guy. I sometimes forget things are seasonal when it comes to me. But a few months later, when I got invited to the Renaissance Fair, I'm hooting and howling and having a party with my buddies and having a blast, dead sober. And I was like, because I'm self-aware, because I practice this kind of stuff, I was able to look back at that milestone where I was there and at this milestone. And I've seen my social game grow. I've seen me kind of grow into myself. Extremely important. Show yourself that compassion. You're going to get there. Nothing lasts forever. Even the good stuff, the bad stuff, we get to move through that. Gratitude I touched on as far as practicing that every day, being grateful for what we have, simple stuff like eyesight, family, friends, health. I went to a doctor. I stuck needles in my arm forever, did everything I could imagine, went to a doctor, walked out of there with a clean bill of health. threw the thing on my seat, and drove back home. It wasn't until the next morning I'm brushing my teeth. I'm like, man, if they would have told me I had something wrong with me, right? And we all know what diseases we could be talking about, with just the big ones, right? If I had one of the big diseases, I would have dwelled on that and gave it so much attention and talked about it and cried about it and everything else for weeks and months and probably until it ended my life. But when I got the good news, I literally, however long it took me to get from that front desk at the doctor to my car, was about the thought process. Oh, okay, cool. Everything's good. Threw it on my car and went home. I gave that no appreciation, no gratitude whatsoever. So what I did to kind of correct that was, for the next week or so, everybody I talked to, I was like, hey, man, I went to the doctor. I'm so grateful. Everything came out great. I just kept saying it. And I probably drove a couple people nuts. But we have to celebrate our wins. We have to appreciate the good things. It's easy to look at the bad stuff and live in there. We're used to feeling not so great. But as we move into recovery, into personal development, into getting better, we have to really practice that gratitude and know what's good for us, what makes us feel good, what to be grateful for. Even in this business, working in recovery, I have people tell me some really cool stuff all the time. A lot of times it's giving me credit, right? If it's someone I helped or introduced to recovery, like, oh man, you got me here. I absolutely did not get you here. I talked to you. You did a whole bunch of right decisions and took some action. That got you here. I'm glad to be a small part of it. But, it's awesome. I get these texts on Sunday morning. Hey, I'm with my kid. I never would have had this, if I didn't get into recovery. Thank you. I hear it so much that I have to be intentional, once again, to give it the respect, to give it the gratitude, to give it the attention it deserves. Because just like the bad stuff and the stuff we used to get desensitized to, the good stuff we can get desensitized to as well, and not give that the appreciation and the gratitude that it deserves. Comes back to being mindful. Pay attention to what's going on and enjoy it for what it is. One thing we're all really good at, overcoming. We can go up it. We can go through it. We can go under it. We'll figure it out. They can literally lock me in a cell with nothing, and I will figure out within a couple hours how to get a cigarette and how to get it lit using a socket. Right? That was my tenacity, my determination when I was incarcerated. Well, now I'm just trying to be happy. If I used to do this stuff for the stuff that I hate, the stuff that made me miserable, what do I get to do for the stuff that I love? We like to say, well, I can't do that, or I'm scared to speak in public, or like some of us we do some crazy stuff. Let's just say that. And now we're scared to speak in public. It doesn't even make sense. We're not scared to speak in public. We're scared to fail in public. We're scared. God forbid we say, God forbid we trip over a word. Maybe the audience doesn't like what we say. Big deal. Big deal. Do it anyway. Have that courage, that tenacity. Get through whatever it is you need to get through to get to where you're going. In order to get to where you're going, you have to know where you're going. So there's going to be challenges, right? With recovery, there's going to be cravings. There's going to be triggers. You have to have a plan for them. I talk to so many guys who say, I don't care, I'll never get high again. I've never seen one of those guys actually live up to that. We're going to want to use, right? Whether it's bad decision-making was the reason we got in prison, whether it was drugs or alcohol, at some point in time, that trigger is going to come. Kind of like it happened to me in New York. It's happened to me a couple of times with the drinking, but I have to have a plan. My plan is I immediately, again, I got a big mouth. I tell everybody about it, even the people I don't want to tell. That's how I'm able to deal with my cravings, my triggers. I get it out there, because if I keep it inside, it's going to manifest. It's going to come out some other way. Maybe it won't, but I'm not taking that chance. Negative thought patterns. Again, mindset. You get to choose how you see everything, whether you think you can or you think you can't. It's right. I had a deputy warden who let us do all kinds of stuff, pro-social stuff, good stuff for the art, programming type stuff. And she was leaving. And one of my trainers, his family therapist, Tori La Rochelle, I was like, Tori, they're taking our deputy warden. Man, she's like, they're taking your deputy warden? That's so awesome. What do you think the new one's going to let you do? And I was like, why would you look at it like that? She's all, no, why would you look at it like that? And I learned in that moment, she didn't have to tell me about perspective. She showed me what it looked like. And I'm like, holy shit, I get to choose how I see everything. No matter what happens, I get to choose how I experience that event. Nothing's good or bad until we say it is. Having coping strategies, right? I talked about removing drugs and alcohol, whether we want to admit it or not. It was my main coping strategy. We have to have different ones. Could be walks in nature, swimming in the ocean, listening to music, exercise, talking to friends, driving cars, riding motorcycles, riding bikes, mountain climbing, whatever it is. Figure out what it is. Try some new stuff. Try stuff you haven't done before and do it. See what that looks like. There's going to be emotional up and downs. We're going to have good days. We're going to have bad days. It is really easy for me to be positive on a good day. It is really easy for me to talk about gratitude when I'm sitting in my office and life is great. All my projects are on time and I'm winning. When my motor blows up in Safford, it took me about 2 or 3 minutes to get back to gratitude. And I got a Facebook post to prove it. I sat there in my car waiting for the tow truck and started posting about how grateful I was that I got to go to Safford. Those dark moments, that's the hard stuff. That's the stuff that counts. That's where the work that we do in the dark, by practicing integrity, by doing the right thing all the time, gets to show its face. And for me, I was even surprised. Like the next day, I was like, holy cow, I actually have coping skills. Like, I'm not even freaking out about this. I'm going to be okay. Even if I have to ride the bus, I'll figure it out. Once we start realizing we can win, man, it just builds that confidence. It builds that self-esteem. It builds that self-efficacy where we can just do things for ourselves and we can believe we can get them done. That's the biggest thing, man, is that belief. And I know you guys have seen it. People go to prison, they're super successful, right? They might have been living on the street in prison. Living on the streets. They get to prison, they got a store, they're living well, they're doing food boxes, all kinds of stuff. I firmly believe it's because Maslow's hierarchy, their basic needs are met. They got food, shelter, clothing. That's stable. They also have a routine. They're doing the same thing every day, right? It's a routine somebody else set for you, set for most of us. Where we might have a couple of options to fill in some time slots, but the person kind of dictates when and where we get to do stuff. Don't forget about that when you transfer. Don't forget about that when you get into your recovery and your personal development. Set that routine, right? We developed a high performance planner. You can lay your stuff out in goals, in time blocks. You can set goals for the day, all that stuff. Do it. Invest that 10 minutes a day in yourself to put it on. It's 10 minutes. Put it on paper. See what it looks like. Start figuring it out. Take away the stuff that doesn't work. Add the stuff that does. Keep moving forward until you're able to build that routine. Getting bored or getting comfortable, extremely dangerous. If you feel like you're bored, then you're not doing enough. If you feel like you're average, it's because you are. If you can't name 3 things that you're doing that are above average, guess what? You're average. If you're doing above average stuff, if you're acting like someone who's in recovery, someone who really cares about personal development, you should never have a second where you're bored. Every single second of your day should be mapped out from start to finish. And it's so easy to do. It's literally, we put a whole book together for a day, day by day. You make photocopies. It's digital, whatever it is you got to do. Fill it out every day. Know what you're going to do the next day. Invest that time in you. You're worth it. Build that support system and just stay accountable as you move forward, guys. The cool thing is the recovery life, we got emotional resilience. Our health starts coming back. I just hiked a mountain last weekend. I'm 50 years old. Don't get me wrong. It was tough, but we did it. Career advancement, like I talked about earlier, there are people like us that are bosses of doctors. They tell the doctors what to do on a daily basis. They're the clinical managers, not just here. I don't even know if the one here is or not, but I know a couple other facilities. They're in charge. When we turn that corner, we're built different. We will blow the doors off of everybody else. Chase your dreams. Absolutely chase your dreams. Entrepreneurship, the skill that you have with being a software developer, there are so many entrepreneurial avenues that you can pursue to build your career, to build your brand, to build your focus. But I guarantee you this, it's going to take work. My buddy told me the other day, he goes, man, George, I wish I was more like you, where I had those little moments during the day where I could just get things done. I was almost offended. I was like, bro, I get up at 3:30 in the morning. That's how I get things done. He's like, do you? I'm like, yeah, what time you get up? He's like, 7. I'm like, you're lying. He's like, all right, 8. Well, that's 5.5 hours before you got out of bed that I've been going about my business. What the people don't see that we do in the dark He's my friend, so I'll explain it to him. But what the people don't see that we do in the dark, that's when it shows. Because obviously he recognized I'm getting a lot of stuff done. I'm moving forward. That's something he wants to figure out how to do. He assumed he knew what it was, so he had a conversation with me, and he was wrong. So now he's getting up a little bit earlier. He's getting up at 6, which is kind of cool. He's moving in the right direction. But having that buy-in in yourself, no one believes in you more than you. That's the truth. The other truth is the world, they don't care if you succeed. They also don't care if you fail. They're going to make room for you either way. I know being a drug addict was pretty hard. It was tough. But guess what? Being successful, being happy, that's got some pretty long days too. What I've come to realize is no matter what, things are going to be hard. We get to choose our heart. We get to choose which one do I want to work at? Do I want to put all this effort into being miserable? Or do I want to put half of that effort into being pretty happy and not even pretty, very happy? And when I talk about successful, I'm not talking about bank accounts and Benzes. I'm talking about waking up every single day with a smile on my face. And I get to do that. Don't get me wrong. In that, I go to bed freaking exhausted, man. Literally exhausted. But I promise you this. I wake up every day. I say 10 grateful things. And I wake up with a huge smile on my face because I practice recovery. Because I practice in the dark. Because I do the right thing as often as I can. I make a bunch of mistakes. But I stay, for the most part, within my boundaries, right? There's some things I've done where I'm like, I got to readjust. Let me talk to so-and-so, see what this looks like. Nothing's going to come out perfect. But I promise you this, guys, I wake up every single day with a smile on my face. Work on that skill, the coding, keep putting into that. That's going to help with your career stuff. And one thing that I had no idea, because I shoved every single thing I could into my arm. I smoked everything I could in a pipe, sniffed everything I could up my nose. If I would have known how good it feels to help other people, right? And I'm not talking like saving people. I'm talking just being of service, just being available for people, just being kind. That feels so much better than anything I've ever, any substance, any alcohol, anything I've ever used. And I can do it every day. I never wake up with a hangover. And people, now I get a paycheck to do this, which absolutely amazes me because I just get to feel so good every day. But it doesn't work for everybody. This is my purpose. We have to figure out what your purpose is. That's another thing we get to do as we move forward in our recovery. So here's the cheat sheet, man, for long-term recovery. And I absolutely love this picture because you notice he's lifting a whole bunch of weight right there. What he's not doing is doing it by himself. He's got support behind him. He's got people cheering him on. He's got people on both sides of that weight that are there to help. You're going to let him do it, right? Hopefully he can do it by himself. But if he can't, he is literally surrounded by help. That's what we need in our life. I know I talked to you guys about planning and laying your day out. I will take 5 minutes of action over a year of planning any single day of the week. Stop talking about it. Do it. Do it. If you fail it, who cares? There's no such thing as failure until you give up, man. There's no such thing. It just didn't work that way. Figure out another way. Take action. If people can't see what you're doing, then you're not doing it. You have to have actionable, observable behaviors that are out there for people to see that you're doing every day to move you towards your goals. Ask for help. Don't be that guy that sat at the bus stop after he met me at the pro office, didn't even ask me for a ride. If I didn't pull over and offer him a ride, he would have spent 2 hours trying to get home in 115-degree weather. Guy who knows me. I'm like, why didn't you ask, man? Oh, I thought you were busy. Don't assume. There's a whole world of people out here that want to help. Whether you're in recovery, whether you're in reentry, whatever that looks like, ask for help. Set goals. I know it gets beaten to our head in prison, sometimes by some pretty not so entertaining facilitators, let's say. Goal setting is important. It works for everybody. Write it down. Check it off. Write it down. Check it off. If you don't write it down, it's just a dream. It's just a wish. It's not even real. Write it on a piece of paper. Make it tangible. Put it in a place where you see it. Put it in a place where other people see it if that's important to you. Embrace growth. Growth is going to cause friction. Right? Growth isn't easy. When we go to the gym, we work out, we got to break our muscles down. In order to grow, we got to break our muscle down. We got to have those tough conversations. We got to do that work, read the books, practice coding, whatever that looks like. Being able to sit here with you guys today and have this conversation from this side of a computer, when I'm used more comfortable probably being on that side of the screen, one of the best things I get to do. It's literally one of the best things I get to do on a daily basis. I go to the prison every Friday night. It's the highlight of my week. And like I go on dates and stuff. And going to the prison is the highlight of my week because we get to pour back into our community. We get to be examples for other people. We get to say, hey, man, there's real solid help here for you. The high performance planner's out. It's ready to go. Miss Unruh's got, I don't know how she disseminates that stuff, so she can explain that. But I'm super excited for you guys. I'm super glad we're here. I don't know how tight the time schedule is, but I'm here to answer questions if anybody has any questions or wants to chop it up about anything. Especially since we have a small group and nobody from the anywhere else showed up, which is awesome. I love it.
I was gonna say we could turn the camera on, if you guys want to, since we are alone here for a little bit. But I will note that we are getting printed copies of the High Performance Planner, and I'm just remembering now I need to follow up with my printer to see where those are at. But I will bring some into the facility if you want hard copies. But obviously we can get them just printed inside if you like those too. But really hope you guys will utilize those and work with George as you get out to set some goals too. But anyone there, the Red Rock class, have any questions or thoughts?
I think I put him to sleep.
All right. Thank you for.
Hey, can you turn the camera on? Is that okay?
That's it. That's a them question.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for coming in and speaking with us today. I really appreciate it. I'm sure the rest of the guys in here do.
Oh, yeah.
Couple questions about, we don't have a lot of resources available as far as information goes in regards to attending New Freedom or looking into getting into New Freedom. Would you mind going over the protocol for what we have to do and how to get there?
What I can do is I can get one of the mentors to come in here and talk to you real quick. And she can explain it to you better if you just hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
We can do that.
Well, handy when he does a webinar from New Freedom. All those people around you can grab.
Okay. Yeah, I just found it awkwardly difficult to find information on the process. I've had to go to several different people to get paperwork and stuff and get everything together.
Yes,
So,
unfortunately, it can be difficult.
No, Ms. Unruh, also, a lot of these guys are taking off right now, so it might be kind of loud.
No worries.
So he had a question about what the process looks like for coming to New Freedom. I wanted to introduce
You
him.
guys trade beard secrets?
How y'all doing?
Doing all right.
Awesome. So I had some questions on how to get to New Freedom.
Yes.
All right. I'm one of the mentors for New Freedom. Basically, it's really easy. Honestly, the startup would be for you to write us, or however we could take down your DOC number, write us so we can get you logged in and we can send you the intro packet. Basically, it'll be a intro letter stating our little story with our lived experiences. You'll get an app, assessment, and a flyer. We'll need you to please fill those out and send them back to us. And then we can expedite all the rest of the lessons and the curriculum and everything like that. So you can send that back to us. Once y'all are done with all the curriculum, then we'll expedite the application, which we call the NFFA, is New Freedom's Application of Acceptance. So we need all that filled out, but that's after all the curriculum is done.
Okay.
Once everything's filled out, I'll have my the records process your application. I do want to let you know ahead of time there are insurances, different insurances that we do accept. Please note the ones that I'm about to explain to you. These are the ones that we do accept that are contracted by us. First is AZ Complete, Banner Health. And then is it AZ Complete or no? I'm sorry, not AZ Complete. That one's gone. It's
Banner, Health Choice,
Health
Mercy
Choice.
Care, and American Indian with a travel card.
I'm sorry, I got that mixed up all the time.
I
Okay.
was like, something changed?
Yeah, my bad, guys.
Okay.
Just go with Mercy Care. That's the one they go with. I'm not allowed to say that officially.
I have kind of a loophole question for you guys. I have all 6 of your lessons and all of your assessment paperwork and everything.
Man, you said you didn't have any information, dude.
Oh, you're grounded.
Hey, trust me, it took bouncing back and forth between CO3s, CO4s, and asking the right people, and then collectively putting everything together.
Good job, man. That's advocating for yourself. I love it. Ain't nothing to a G.
Yeah, I'm not in persevere for giving up. So
Absolutely, man. I should have worn my Persevere t-shirt today.
Can I fill all of this stuff out and send it in to you guys? I understand you guys have a protocol, and I've already written letters to Mr. Nolan, and thank you for getting back to me so quickly about it. Can I just start working on this stuff? I'm going to set my goal for doing like a lesson a day and getting that filled out and faxed back to you guys. Is that acceptable?
Absolutely, but also note that your mentor, whoever that you
get out in November, right?
November 27th, sir.
Okay, so listen, no lesson a day. Get those done today. Yeah. Go to your case manager and have them fax them to the email addresses I sent. You wait a week from now, that's not going to be a great look, bro, because you already only have a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
You're on the late train here. So go home, stay up tonight. I don't care if it's till midnight. Get those lessons done. That's what we do. We chase our dreams. Have your case manager email them into Matt with a copy to it, communications at New Freedom.
That will be done for you tomorrow.
Yeah.
I got plenty of coffee.
All right, get it done. Get it done, man. You guys got anything else for us today?
And your name, sir?
My name is Adam Webb.
Adam Webb. Okay, awesome. Do you guys have any other questions? No. Richie? No other questions? Yeah, just so you guys over at New Freedom know, you guys may want to look into possibly putting New Freedom. I mean, I understand you guys sent out the newsletters, but I didn't really know where to go or what to do. There wasn't like aside from the newsletter and people talking to people, the New Freedom's not really a commonly spoke about thing on the yard, at least here at Red Rock.
Okay, cool. Good to know.
Yeah, it's just I mean, I couldn't even find like a flyer or whatever, and a lot of people just disregard the mail. So
all right.
It's
thank you for sharing that with us. We'll work on it.
Yes, sir. I will get all of this. This is a lot, man. I will get all of this stuff done and send it to you.
Get it done, man. We'll see you guys later.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for visiting, gentlemen.
All right, guys.
Appreciate it.
Bye, everyone.